When you look to the SEC in 2024, man, who are some of the names that you need to know? And not just names that you need to know, but names that are going to be the most impactful when it comes to how that conference race shakes out in 2024. Well, first things first, make sure you're subscribed to the On3 YouTube channel because we talk ball all year round. If you're watching this during the live show, we appreciate y'all being dialed in. Just make sure you're subscribed to the channel, like double check that you've hit the subscribe button. But if you're watching this as a one-off video, we want you to subscribe so you can come watch the live show with us or come be a part of the live show with us. We get in the live chat. We have a good time. So 11 a.m. Eastern, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. We appreciate y'all for that. As I was saying, the most impactful names, the most important names in the SEC are as follows. You got to start with the Georgia Bulldogs, right? I mean, they're going to be preseason number one. Kirby Smart has had the best team in college football the last 3 seasons. I understand they didn't win the national title last year. I still would have bet on a healthy Georgia to win the whole gosh darn thing last year. Carson Beck is the most important name on that roster, obviously because he is the quarterback at Georgia. But here's a thought that I don't know we've addressed enough. What if Carson Beck just levels up from what he did in year 1 at Georgia? That's a scary thought. Because, yes, it was his first year. He had great stats. Him and Mike Bobo did great things. But, like, what if he kicks it up a notch, Emerald style? Nobody's really considering that. Because last year he threw for almost 4,000 yards, 24 touchdowns, 6 picks, 72% completion percentage. He was dialed in. His first time playing college football. First time being a starting quarterback in college football. That means something. Because if that's the base we're working with here, and we elevate our game, there's a tremendous takeover factor, I think, with Carson Beck. Like, there was a lot of people during the season last year saying, yeah, he looks good, he's efficient. We want him to kind of unhitch the wagon a little bit. The same conversation they were having about Jayden Daniels last year. We want him to push the ball deep. We want him to be a little bit more aggressive vertically. Well, year 1, I think it's very fair to have some caution. We want to protect the football. But in year 2, if he cuts it loose and he levels up and has even a better season from last year, how unstoppable is Georgia? And also, how much are those weapons that are new to the Georgia football team from the transfer portal, from a Trevor Etienne to a Colby Young to a Lennon Humphreys, some new faces into the fold to try and replace the production of a Ladd McConkey and a Brock Bowers that are gone to the league? How much are they benefiting from it? What kind of years are they having? Carson Beck, I think, more than likely holds the SEC conference title race in the palm of his hand. I think he will probably determine how far Georgia goes this upcoming season. I don't think that's a stretch to say that. Let's go to the coaching side of things, though, for our next name. One of the most important names in the SEC in 2024, one of the most impactful figures, LSU's new defensive coordinator, Blake Baker, coming over from Missouri. If that bowl game for LSU was a preview of what the offense is going to look like, it's probably going to be really freaking good yet again. I know you lost Mike Denbrock. I know you lost the Heisman Trophy winner in Jayden Daniels. I understand that. But Garrett Nussmeier, man, he likes to push it deep. Likes to sling the ball around the yard, threw for almost 400 yards in that bowl game, and that's not the first time you've seen Garrett Nussmeier flash a little bit. I feel confident in the offense. I think they're going to kind of keep a good thing going. They'll be able to be in a lot of games because of what the offense brings to the table, is my estimation. However, last year, if LSU has anything that resembles a solid defense, they're probably competing for the SEC title. They might even be in that college football playoff picture. They were a defense away from winning a national title. I don't think that's wild to say. Now, bringing in Blake Baker into the fold is massive because his defense at Missouri last year, super aggressive. Like, Missouri was just good television whenever you turned on their defense. 9% sack rate. Okay, that means of all the snaps that Missouri defense took last year, 9% of those ended in a sack. That's top 10 in the country. So they're going to be aggressive. They're going to get after you. I think the LSU defense will mirror a lot more the attitude that fan base wants to see them play with, most notably Harold Perkins. A lot of folks last year were saying, where's number 4 at? Why are we dropping him back in coverage? Let the Tasmanian devil loose. Let him go hunt the quarterback, man. The kid's a specimen. I think Blake Baker will cut him loose a little bit more, in my opinion. I think they're going to utilize his strengths a little bit more. The bottom line is if Blake Baker revives this LSU defense back to what we've known it to be, the Louisianimals of sorts on that side of the ball, I think they're going to be a national title contender, and they will be, of course, an SEC title contender. So Blake Baker, massive, massive impact name to know when it comes to the conference title race this upcoming year. Now, a new team to the SEC, but not a new name to the SEC, is Texas, and their wide receiver, Isaiah Bond, transferring over from Alabama. He will have a massive impact on the SEC this year because the Texas offense last season was so freaking good because you could run the football how they did, almost 200 yards a game. But then when those safeties tried to trigger too quickly, or those linebackers got a little bit aggressive, kind of got their eyes in the backfield a little bit, then Quinn Ewers could put the ball in the belly, pull it out, and then hit Xavier Worthy deep down the sideline. Could hit Adonai Mitchell for a big-time touchdown like he did during the Alabama game in Tuscaloosa that ended up being the dagger. The thing with Isaiah Bond is there's a lot of production to replace from Xavier Worthy and Adonai Mitchell no longer being on that roster. To be specific, over 1,800 yards of receiving is left there. Now, Isaiah Bond, he's a deep threat. We saw him do that at Alabama. I don't know that we really saw the most of his ability in Tuscaloosa because I think Jalen Milroe and his skill set is different than what a Quinn Ewers would offer. If Isaiah Bond can keep that Texas offense versatile like they were last year, and they're going to ask him to now. They're going to ask him to do a lot when it comes to putting pressure on secondaries and keeping that box honest for them consistently. That's going to be massive. That's going to be extremely massive because last year they scored 35 points a game. A lot of that was based on the passing game. Quinn Ewers coming back, you have to maximize him. You have to maximize him. The only way you do that is being able to have a deep threat and being able to have that production replaced from a season ago. Isaiah Bond, again, transferring over from Alabama, will play a massive, massive part in that. Speaking of Alabama, I tried my best here to go with some names that were a little bit off the grid, like names that maybe we weren't always thinking about when we talk about the SEC, but it's unavoidable. Like Kayden Dore is absolutely one of the most impactful, important people in the SEC this upcoming year. The question I have, outside of him being a recruiter, which we'll talk about here in a second, is we've seen you do more with less. And Andy Staples and I talked about this during the coaching carousel. Can you do more with more? Because I understand there's this thought that, hey, he was great at Washington. He's great throughout the course of his career. He's won everywhere he's been. He's won with the second best roster in a lot of these games. That's great. At Alabama, you don't have to win with the second best roster. You can win with the best roster. And it may not be that case every single Saturday for Alabama because the portal did what the portal does, but like Nick Saban, we keep saying this, he left the cupboard stocked. He left nothing but top 2 classes in Tuscaloosa. So when you talk about Alabama in 2024 and Kayden Dore, the question I have is Kayden Dore's impact on the offensive side of the ball. Because Ryan Grubb, gone to the league, we understand that, but it's still Kayden Dore's offense. It was always Kayden Dore's offense, whether Ryan Grubb stayed as the OC or not. My question is, can you equip Jalen Milroe and help Jalen Milroe take that next step as a passer? Kayden Dore ran a really successful offense at Washington. He did it with Michael Penix Jr. And there's no secret that he was a big factor in Michael Penix Jr.'s success, but Michael Penix Jr. and Jalen Milroe, very different kind of players. So can you help Jalen Milroe take that next step as a passer, but then at the same time, can you do what Tommy Rees did a season ago as the OC and still play to his strengths and play to his skill set? And everything Kayden Dore talks about leans towards personnel over scheme. And so I love that so far, but I'm curious to watch how that factors in because Alabama, again, they have the roster to be competitive right away with Kayden Dore. That's not saying a whole lot. In the big picture, though, the impact on the SEC that Kayden Dore is going to have is what he does this year will, in short term, answer the question that a lot of people have and a lot of recruits have, what is Alabama? We know what they've been for the last 15 plus years with Nick Saban running the show. It's greatness. It's development. It's hardware. It's championship rings. What are they with Kayden Dore? You don't have to be championship rings your first year in Tuscaloosa. It certainly wouldn't hurt things. But can you stabilize the optics? It's a phrase I keep using when it comes to Kayden Dore. Can you stabilize the optics to ensure for recruits, hey, Bama's still Bama. You can still come and play here in Tuscaloosa, still put that script day on your jersey and feel good about your future, feel good about what we're going to be as a product on the field pretty much every single fall. We may not get the answer for the long term just in year one, but again, stabilizing optics, that's going to be massive for the ultimate question people have with how is he going to recruit in the SEC? How is he going to recruit in the SEC? Because you got to out-recruit Sark, got to out-recruit Kirby Smart, got to out-recruit Lane Kiffin, who knows what they're going to be. Like the SEC, Brian Kelly's recruiting like a madman. Like you got to be able to get the Jimmies and the Joes. And having success on the field to sell to recruits is going to be very, very impactful for the future. Tennessee quarterback Nio Malava, another massively impactful name here in the SEC this upcoming year. Nio Malava is the reason why the Tennessee offense makes you nervous again. And that's no shade at Joe Milton. I think Joe Milton did a good job last year. It wasn't the offense that we saw in 2022, and that's fine. They still had a decent season. But Nio Malava was the number one player for us here at On3 in the 2023 cycle. If he is all that he's built up to be early on in his time in Knoxville, there's no telling what Tennessee's going to be in the SEC. Like SEC will be in the SEC, or Tennessee will be in the SEC title contention They won't just be a 9-win team, 8-win team. Like, they'll be in that conference title picture. And that's scary because think about what this offense was under Josh Heupel. Or I'll rephrase that. Think about what Josh Heupel's offense was with Hendon Hooker running the show. When you had a quarterback who had all the tools to be able to ad-lib a little bit athletically, make all the throws deep, be consistent as a passer in the intermediate game. Nio Malava brings that to the table from a skill set perspective, we believe at least at this point. But if he's able to hit the ground running and be able to maximize what his redshirt year was, being able to learn from Joe Milton and be able to sit back and get comfortable, if he hits the ground running, there's no telling about Tennessee. Now, a factor to consider within this, if you want to get to those 2022 vibes as a Tennessee offense, it's important because this offense, when it was really humming, yes, you had the quarterback in Hendon Hooker, but you also had a dude who could absolutely go in Jalen Hyatt. And so I think Squirrel White probably needs to take that next step. I think Brew McCoy obviously needs to get healthy. He'll be a big factor for them. You got to have multiple receiving options is what I'm trying to say here when it comes to Nio Malava and his success in 2024. But again, if he gets cooking, all bets are off on Tennessee. Probably the best what-if factor when it comes to the SEC is Nio Malava and that Tennessee offense. Last one for you here. Ole Miss and their defensive lineman Walter Nolan transferring over there along with pretty much everyone and their mama by way of the transfer portal. He comes over from Texas A&M. He was the number 2 player in the transfer portal for us here at On 3. Translation, dude's a freak show. 6'4", 290 pounds. He's twitched up. He's got some production in the SEC to show with what he's going to be at Ole Miss. Walter Nolan is the 5-star caliber player that Lane Kiffin has been telling you Ole Miss needs to acquire. Remember Lane Kiffin saying that after the Georgia game, saying, listen, the difference between us and Georgia right now, they got like double-digit 5-stars. I think we have one. Well, Lane Kiffin do what Lane Kiffin does. He's not going to rest on his laurels. He's going to go to work in the portal, and he did just that with this portal class they have right now, including, again, the number 2 player in the whole darn portal, which is Walter Nolan. If Ole Miss can now play ball in the line of scrimmage, especially the defensive line of scrimmage, with the Georgias, with the LSUs, with the Alabamas, if they can just hold serve there, that turns what was previously your equalizer, which was Jackson Dart and that offense, and Trey Harris, who's coming back, who is a phenomenal receiver for them. If they're able to play ball and the offense can then shine, that goes from equalizer to edge, meaning you're not having to get into a shootout and win 42-40. You're able to pull away from teams and have it be 42-28. You're able to hold teams to a couple of stops a game and be able to give your offense a chance to really make some noise. That's massive because I don't have any questions about this offense under Lane Kiffin and Charlie Weiss. They're going to cook Jackson Dart, expect him to do Jackson Dart things. You bring in Juice Wells from South Carolina, who has shown what he is in the SEC. Walter Nolan signifies that changing of the guard, I believe, in what this Ole Miss defense can be. So I'm excited to see this, man. A lot of impactful names to recount it here for you. You got Carson Beck, obviously, the quarterback of the number 1 ranked team in the country going into the year. No surprise there for the Georgia Bulldogs. LSU's defensive coordinator, Blake Baker. If they can get back to that LSU brand of defense we've come to know, look out. Texas wide receiver Isaiah Bond, by way of Alabama, make the Texas offense explosive like it was last year, kind of re-accounting for that production that Xavier Worthy and Adonai Mitchell left. Good things are happening. Kayden Dore, no explanation needed there. Nio Malava, it is what it is. Ole Miss's Walter Nolan is going to be a dude, man. I'm telling you, I can't wait to watch what Ole Miss is in 2024. Hey, y'all, thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also, be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.